Lift up your heart and praise. Lift up your hands and praise. Lift up your voice and praise.
And Moshe said, Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to everyone worshiping with us at home. It's a blessing to be here today, amen. It sure is. And the name of the message today is going to be called What Could Be, What Could Have Been. And I'd like to ask you some questions today. Have you ever considered your life and what you are like and the condition of your condition? Let me ask that again now. Pay real close attention. Have you ever considered your life, what you are like, and the condition of your condition? Sure you have. Sure you have. Have you ever thought something like, man, if it hadn't been for some of the bad breaks that I've had in my life, there's no telling how much potential I might have had, or what great things I might have accomplished in my life if my parents had been more responsible with me, if they'd encouraged me to be the best that I could be, if they'd taught me discipline, if we hadn't had financial struggles, if mom or dad hadn't died, if they hadn't thought and complained all the time, if they hadn't abandoned us, left me to raise my brothers and sisters, if they hadn't abandoned us and left my older siblings to raise me, if that's what your situation is, if I weren't crippled or blind or had more self-esteem or better looking or more athletic or smarter, etc., etc. Now, I'm not talking about getting on your pity pot, crying in your hands. I'm simply asking, and it's not a loaded question. Have you ever considered, had it not been for all the hardship and adversity in your life, what shortcomings would you be rid of that you presently have? The possibilities of who you might have been otherwise, the condition of your life and what great things you might have accomplished in your life. In other words, have you ever quietly reflected on what would you be like if you had been taught to live to your full potential and given the opportunity to do so? Have you ever done that? I have. And I've got to tell you, I really, really like the guy that I imagined myself to be had I had better developmental opportunities. I feel much more confident about myself because I don't have all the shortcomings that I have now. I'm kind and loving and a good listener. I'm smart and wise, and I'm able to help others with their problems. I'm disciplined, and I am always on time. You're going to make me cross my arms, aren't you? So you kind of like this guy better too, huh? I am strong and healthy. I feel great, and there's spring in every step I take. I'm successful, and everything that I put my hand to prospers. And my hair, it looks great. I feel loved and respected, and I have much more self-confidence. And I never, ever do anything contrary to Yahweh or His Torah, and it makes me feel so good to be walking in His will that I don't want to do anything else anyway. I bet you've had similar thoughts pop into your head before as well. Sure you have. Can you relate to that? What could have been? Yeah, if only things hadn't gone the way they had, I could have reached a greater level of potential. All right, changing gears just a little bit. How about this one? Have you ever considered what the kingdom of heaven will be like and what we will be like if we're found worthy to enter into it? Have you ever wondered about that? Things could get better. Turn with me to Revelation 21. Revelation 21. I heard that remark about my hair. We're going to start reading in verse 1. Revelation 21, verse 1, page 1209 in the 1998 ISR. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth, for the former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea is no more. And I, Yochanan, saw the set-apart city, renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the heaven saying, See, the booth of Elohim is with men, and He shall dwell with them, and they shall be His people, and Elohim Himself shall be with them and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor mourning, nor crying, and there shall be no more pain, for the former matters have passed away. And He who was sitting on the throne said, See, I make all matters new. And He said to me, Write, for these words are true and trustworthy. And He said to me, It is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of water of life without payment. The one who overcomes shall inherit all this, and I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But as for the cowardly and the untrustworthy and abominable and murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in the lake of fire, the lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. And one of the seven messengers who held the seven bowls filled with the seven last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me the great city, the set-apart Jerusalem, descending out of the heaven from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim, and her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and having a great and high wall, having 12 gates, and at the gates 12 messengers, and names written on them, which are those of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations on them, were the names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. And he who spoke with me had a golden measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its wall. And the city lies four-cornered, and its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with the rod 2,200 kilometers. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured its wall 65 meters according to the measure of a man that is a messenger. You didn't know they were on the metric system back then, did you? And the structure of its wall was jasper, and the city was clean gold like clear glass. And the foundation of the wall and the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper, the second, sapphire, the third, agate, the fourth, emerald, the fifth, sardonyx, the sixth, ruby, the seventh, chrysolite, the 8th beryl, the 9th topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each one of the gates was a single pearl, and the street of the city was clean gold like transparent glass. And I saw no dwelling place in it, for Yahweh El Shaddai is its dwelling place, and the Lamb. And the city had no need of the sun nor the moon to shine in it, for the esteem of Elohim lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp. And the Gentiles of those who are saved shall walk in its light, and the sovereigns of the earth bring their esteem into it. And its gates shall not be shut at all by day, for night shall not be there. And they shall bring the esteem of the appreciation of the Gentiles into it. And there shall by no means enter into it whatever is unclean, neither anyone doing abomination and falsehood, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. All right, now, that sounds pretty good, I mean. Now, some have supposed that we will have freedom there that we cannot imagine in this life. For instance, we may be able to move like the messengers and not be subject to gravity. Turn with me to Judges chapter 13. I want to look a little bit at some messengers. Judges 13, we're going to start reading in verse 19. We're going to be on page 268. Judges 13, verse 19. And Manoach took a young goat with the grain offering and offered it upon the rock to Yahweh. And he did wondrously while Manoach and his wife looked on, this messenger. And it came to be, as the flame went up toward the heavens from the altar, that the messenger of Yahweh went up in the flame of the altar. And Manoach and his wife were watching, and they fell on their face to the ground, and the messenger of Yahweh did not appear any more to Manoach and his wife. And Manoach knew that he was a messenger of Yahweh. So not only was he not subject to gravity, he also seemed to not be burned by the fire. All right? So we're going to do a little study, or I encourage you to do a little study sometimes on the kinds of things that messengers have done. We're going to look a little bit now. Look at 1 Corinthians 15. Page 1114. Well, let's see, we're going to start, be 1115 is where we'll start reading. To see a little bit what things may be like. Verse 33, 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33. Do not be led astray. Evil company corrupts good habits. Wake up to soberness righteously, and do not sin, for some do not have the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. But someone might say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Senseless one. What you sow is not made alive unless it dies. And as to what you sow, you do not sow the body which is to be, but a bare grain. It might be wheat or some other grain, but Elohim gives it a body as He wishes, and to each seed a body of its own. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, and another of fishes, and another of birds. And there are heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. But the esteem of the heavenly is truly one, and the esteem of the earthly is another. One esteem of the sun, and another esteem of the moon, and another esteem of the stars. For stars differ from star in esteem. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in disrespect, it is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it has been written, the first man, Adam, became a living being, the last Adam, a life-giving spirit. The spiritual, however, was not first, but the natural, and afterward the spiritual. The first man was of the earth, earthy. The second man is the master from heaven. As the earthy, so also are those who are earthy, and as is the heavenly, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the likeness of the earthy, we shall also bear the likeness of the heavenly. And this I say, brothers, that flesh and blood is unable to inherit the reign of Elohim, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. See, I speak a secret to you. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible has to put on incorruption, and this mortal to put on immortality. And when this corruptible has put on incorruption, and the mortal has put on immortality, then shall come to be the word that has been written, death is swallowed up in overcoming. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your overcoming? And the sting of death is the sin, and the power of the sin is the Torah. But thanks to Elohim, who gives us the overcoming through our Master Yeshua Messiah. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the Master, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Okay, so we can see here that we will be raised in incorruption and be spiritual. All right, so we've got a little more information about what we'll be. Right? Let's look at 1 John chapter 3. This is going to be on page 1186. We're going to start reading in verse 1. First John chapter 3, verse 1. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of Elohim. For this reason, the world does not know us, because it did not know Him. Beloved ones, now we are children of Elohim, and it has not been revealed what we shall be like, but we know that when He is revealed, we shall be like Him. For we shall see Him as He is, and everyone having this expectation in Him cleanses himself as He is clean. Everyone doing sin also does lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. And you know that He was manifested to take away our sins, and in Him there is no sin. Everyone staying in Him does not sin. Everyone sinning has neither seen Him nor known Him. Little children, let no one lead you astray. The one doing righteousness is righteous, even as He is righteous. Okay, so we're talking about what could be. The one doing sin is of the devil, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Elohim was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not sin, because his seed stays in him, and he is powerless to sin because he has been born of Elohim. In this the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are manifest. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim, neither the one not loving his brother. Because this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Not as Cain, who was of the wicked one and killed his brother. And why did he kill him? Because his works were wicked, but those of his brother were righteous. Do not marvel, my brothers, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. The one not loving his brother stays in death. Everyone hating his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has everlasting life staying in him. By this we have known love, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his tender affections from him, how does the love of Elohim stay in him? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And by this we know that we are of the truth and shall set our hearts at rest before Him, if our heart condemns us, Elohim is greater than our heart and knows all. Beloved ones, if our heart does not condemn us, we have boldness toward Elohim. And whatever we ask, we receive from Him, because we guard His commands and do what is pleasing in His sight. And this is His command, that we should believe in the name of His Son, Yeshua Messiah, and love one another as He gave us command. And the one guarding His command stays in Him, and He in Him. And by this we know that He stays in us, by the Spirit which He gave us. We have to figure that when our change comes, we'll be like Him. That we would at least have the powers and abilities similar to the messengers. Amen? All right? Now, Yahweh is all-powerful. No argument out of that, right? All right. He knows every thought, the beginning from the end. He knows us while we're in our mother's womb. He's able to create with the word of His mouth. He's everywhere and anywhere that He wants to be. And there is no limit to His power. And I'm sure that being like Him will certainly come with its limits. But He will elevate us to a level of freedom that we do not presently possess. We'll be able to reach the kind of potential that we've been unable to reach in this life. Hallelujah. All right. We will be able to be what could have been and more. Now that's an awesome thought, amen? That's an awesome thought. We could be the things and do the things that we can only imagine now, and I just think that's really cool. Who wants that kind of freedom and power to reach their full potential? All right? What would you do, though, with that kind of freedom? See, we have to be careful. Because what did Hashatan do with that kind of freedom? You see? What do you do with the power and freedom that you have right now? Right, that's a good question. What do I do with the power and the freedom that we have now? Yahweh's not bound by the kind of things that we are. But Yahweh did give us laws, and He made us subject to days and appointed times and seasons and years and death and dying, etc. Gravity. That's a tough law right there sometimes. Guess what? Yahweh is not going to do the whole rebellion in heaven thing again. Amen? He's done that once, and we're not doing it again. So He is also not the author of welfare salvation, as many Christians would have us to believe. Yahweh gives us Torah to see if we will obey rather than rebel. All right? And He is not going to reward unrepentant rebels with everlasting joy and life. All right? So, turn with me to Matthew 25. And we're going to read one verse here. Let's just do this so we can all get together. Keep your finger at Matthew 25 and turn to Psalm 119. And we'll just kind of jump from one back to the other real quick, because we're going to stay in Matthew 25 a good bit. Psalm 119. And we're going to turn back to 105 when we get there. So kind of just open your page up where you can get to 105 pretty quickly, and we'll be able to verse 105. Psalm 119, verse 105. But don't start reading there. We're going to start reading in Matthew 25. I know it's complicated. Look, you've got to be able to follow instructions if you hope to be there, Pat. It's not too hard for you. Okay. Sometimes we have to rely on our neighbors. All right. Matthew 25, verse 1. This is YHWH speaking, and he says, "Then the reign of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom." Now, turn to Psalm 119. Get ready to turn back now. 105. "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. I have sworn and I confirm to guard your righteous right rulings." All right, now let's turn back now that we've seen what we have to compare these lamps to. "And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their containers with their lamps. Now, while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, 'See, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him.' Then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, 'Give us your oil, because our lamps are going out.' But the wise answered, saying, 'No, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. And instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves.' And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with them to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, 'Master, Master, open up for us.' But he answering said, 'Truly I say to you, I do not know you.'" All right, now I want you to keep your finger there as well. Stay in 25, and we want to turn to Matthew 7. Remembering what YHWH just said. No, you can come out of the Psalm now. We're just Matthew 25. Now we're going to go to Matthew 7. And we're going to start reading in verse 21. I want you to note the same language here that we just used. Matthew 7, verse 21. "Not everyone who says to me, 'Master, Master,' shall enter into the reign of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. Many shall say to me in that day, 'Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name?' In other words, we performed signs and wonders in your name." All right? Verse 23. "And then I shall declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness.'" Depart from me, you who don't keep Yahweh's Torah, His instructions, His law. All right? So we see that not keeping the oil that gives light in our lamps is a metaphor for not having the love and the works of the Torah in our lives. Amen? All right, now go back to Matthew 25. We're going to start reading in verse 13. He says, "Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam is coming. For it is like a man going from home, who called his own servants and delivered his possessions to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability, and went from home. And he who had received the 5 talents went and worked with them, and made another 5 talents. In the same way, he with the 2 also, he gained 2 more. But he who had received the 1 went away and dug in the ground and hid the silver of his master. And after a long time, the master of those servants came and settles accounts with them. And he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more talents besides them.' And his master said to him, 'Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You are trustworthy over a little. I shall set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' Then he who had received 2 talents came and said, 'Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more besides them.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' And the one who had received the 1 talent also came and said, 'Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And being afraid, I went and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours.' And his master answering said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Then you should have put my silver with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore, take away the talent from him, and give it to him who possesses 10 talents. For to everyone who possesses more shall be given, and he shall have overflowingly. But from him who does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away. And throw that worthless servant out into the outer darkness, where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That kind of sounds like what could be, what could have been. And when the son of Adam comes in his esteem, verse 31, and all the set apart messengers with him, then he shall sit on the throne of his esteem. And all the nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. Then the sovereign shall say to those on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the reign prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, and we fed you, or thirsty, and give you to drink? And when did we see you a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? And when did we see you sick, or in prison, and we came to you? And the sovereign shall answer and say to them, Truly I say to you, and so far as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. He shall then also say to those on the left hand, Go away from me, accursed ones, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in, was naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not serve you? Then he shall answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, and so far as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. So, what are you doing with the power that he has given you? He's given you a little. Are you being faithful with it? And are you carefully guarding it? Matt gave a sermon a while back about, are you robbing Elohim? Because we're not, are you robbing him by not using the actual talents that he's given you to serve him? Because see, that's what it's really about. It's about advancing the reign of Elohim. It's not advancing my own agenda. It's not about winning friends and influencing people. It's about, those are nice things to do, right? But it's not about using your talents for your own things like that. It's about using those talents to esteem Elohim and advance his reign. Amen? All right? Are you trying to make it grow? Or are you preparing to say, here's what you gave me, Buster. Nothing more. He's not going to give us more if we're not willing to use what he has given us. Amen? I'm telling you. Perhaps the reason that we have been given obstacles in our lives is so that we can show Yahweh a willingness to overcome. Now think about that for a minute. It's easy if it's easy. Boy, that was profound. If we want to exchange what could have been for what could be, perhaps we should get busy working on what is. All right? And making ourselves to be the best that we can in our present situation. Because the good stuff comes later. All right? Deuteronomy chapter 30. Yeah, there's some good stuff that comes now. But the really good stuff comes to he who overcomes. Remember we read that? He who overcomes. Deuteronomy 30, we're going to start reading in verse 9. We're going to be on page 218. Deuteronomy 30, verse 9. And Yahweh your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of the ground for good. For Yahweh turns back to rejoice over you for good as He rejoiced over your fathers. That's some good stuff. All right? If you obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to guard His commands and His laws which are written in this book of the Torah, if you turn back to Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, for this command which I'm commanding you today, like Chris said a while ago, it is not too hard for you. Nor is it far off. It's not in the heavens to say, who shall ascend into the heavens for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it so that we do it? Nor is it beyond the sea to say, who shall go over the sea for us to bring it to us and cause us to hear it so that we do it? For the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart to do it. You know, part of the problem is sometimes we don't turn to our heart and speak it with our mouth to remember it, to do it. Amen? That's where we get into trouble. Verse 15. See, I have set before you today life and good and death and evil, and that I am commanding you today to love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in His ways and to guard His commands and His laws and His right rulings, and you shall live and increase. And Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not obey, and shall be drawn away, and shall bow down to other mighty ones and serve them, I have declared to you today that you shall certainly perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you are passing over the Jordan to enter and possess. I have called the heavens and the earth as witness today against you. I have set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore you shall choose life, so that you live, both you and your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim, to obey His voice, and to cling to Him, for He is your life and the length of your days, to dwell in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov, to give them. So, may we all be forever faithful to love Yahweh and keep His commands. So I ask it again. Have you ever considered your life, what you are like, and the condition of your condition? If we will, then perhaps we can turn what could have been into can be, and turn what can be into what is. Yevrakeka Yahweh ba'ish mareka, Ya'er Yahweh panavaleka bikuneka, Yasa Yahweh panavaleka v'yasem lakas shalom. Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make His face to shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up His face upon you and give you His complete contentment.